What's smiling? What is noticing that which is smiling? And we may say, well, it's me that's noticing, or it's me that smiles, it's me that sees, listens, smells, tastes, touches, thinks, feels. It's me. So then the question becomes closer, even more intimate. Then what is this me? Really, truly, honestly, without giving any answer just for the sake of closing the topic, but really being curious and investigating within that what is this me that claims to be the owner of this life or the liver of this life? The one that thinks that life should be this way or that way, or I, again, the me, should be this way or that way, or the other should be this way or that way. What is this me that happens to think and believe that it knows it all? And even if it doesn't know it all, I am going to know it all. Video is cutting out. Is it better by any chance? Or still the same? I'm going to speak a little bit so you can tell me if the quality is better. Maybe a thumbs up or down would work. Okay, great. I see. Great. Great. Thank you, guys. So where were we? We were here. We are always here. There is nowhere else to be but here. And here is not a localized spot. This here is this itself. And everything somehow comes and goes and stays and leaves within this here-ness. And within this here-ness, if that is available in this moment, experientially, bringing back that investigation that we were talking about. What is this me that seems to know it all, or that wants to know it all, or that thinks and yearns that it can know it all? And that knowing it all, whatever that means, is going to fulfill something within, and then it'll be okay. the need to know. Is it really possible to know what this is, what life is really, without the spectacles, without the subjective interpretation of what it seems to be? Can I really know what this is? Well, I may say it's a hand, it's my hand, but what does that really mean? They're just a bunch of words learned and believed. And it's useful to use those labels and understand how this seems to work, or whatever the object of interpretation or understanding may be. It's nice to know that when there's a feeling of thirst, I need to drink some water and then it'll be quenched. So it's useful to know these concepts. And yet, what is it really? What is thirst? What is water? What is quenching? It's all unknowable, and yet it is here. It is all here, being experienced so ordinarily in each moment. And yet it is unknown and unknowable if truly looked into without any conditioning, without the layers of liking it or not liking it, without the layers of having read about it, but directly entering into the experience of whatever is here. And checking out what is the quality of this, whatever this is. And as that starts to happen, it becomes clear that the me itself is thinking and believing and craving and resisting all these arisings when put together into a complex thinking structure. That's what is called the me. The separate self, the psychological me, the me that suffers, that is separate. Is it possible to see it for yourself, and not just take this concept home and believe it like, this is my hand. Let's not open our notebooks today. Let's not write anything down. Let's not learn or unlearn anything. Just be here, raw as possible. That includes the complexity of this thinking structure. It's not about getting rid of it. Life would not be possible as we know it without it. So it's not about getting rid of the me. It's about understanding, what is this me? And as that is seen through simultaneously, so seeing through this thinking structure or this me structure is somehow the same movement as grounding into that which sees through. And grounding into thisness that you are, that is noticing this me that is believed to be who I am. And it suffers because something is always missing here. And what is missing? It somehow inherently knows that there is more than just this me. There is something more than that. And it's always looking for that, maybe in love, maybe in money, maybe in possessions, relationships. And then it gets tired of the outward movement, and then it turns within and starts looking for it within the thoughts, within the emotions, within controlling the nervous system, healing itself, all those beautiful movements. Then that is another world of exploration or imploration. And then it gets tired of that. And all the while, this you, this here-ness as the you-ness that is the facilitator of this dance of me, is just here, always, like our breath. And it doesn't need to breathe to be alive. It is aliveness, and it is what gives breath the power to be. It is the source of everything that is perceived. It is the source of perception itself. And it seems to be that as the me structure, the thinking, psychological, separate self structure is started to be seen through as just a structure and not me, or let's separate the words here just for the sake of clarity, because the me is the psychological structure. And when it is seen to be not what I truly am, so that I-ness turns towards itself. And it's just a way of saying it. There is no turning towards that which is all there is. So it's not a wall that you can turn towards. It is literally everything. But somehow, as the sense of identity or sense of I-ness is zoomed out from this me-ness, this little personness that is looking for something happens, it is basically grounding into itself, yourself, the self, which is what is this. Try and name it. And yet there's so many names that are used to label it. But just try and name it. And there will be another limitation to it, which is impossible, because this is without a limit. The concept of limit doesn't apply here. And as a movement happens to grab onto it, or trying to understand it, or trying to even love it, they're beautiful movements and they have to happen, but there's still separation. And there's nothing wrong with that, because even the separation arises within this limitlessness. So all the limitations are limitlessness in essence. And that is what's smiling. And yet, this concept of smiling doesn't exist here. And replace this smiling with whatever is arising. I may tune into satsang one day and I might be just bawling with tears. And even that arises within this that is. Call it I, call it you, call it God, call it consciousness, call it whatever, pizza. Because it is without a name. It is without the other. It is without a limit, without a boundary, without a shape or form. It is without anything that can be perceived. And yet, all of that, beautiful and ugly, pleasurable and painful, life as we call it, me and the other, is within this and made of this. There is nothing else but this somehow manifesting as everything and nothing, and yet nothing. So how can this little me understand this? It's a dead end. And that's when the me can surrender, because it really cannot be fathomed. And even the surrender or the strife to really try and see, no, I can do it. I can do it. Or the surrender whatever movement is happening is somehow flowing within this. So both those movements or anything in between are this in essence. So how do we say that surrender is better than striving? Well, in a way of experiencing the quality of those two movements, we can say that surrender is more peaceful and strife is more suffering in quality. So it doesn't feel good. So in that sense, we can say that surrender is better than striving. But for this that you are, for this that is the source and the essence of everything that is arising, how would you label something better? Or how would you label something worse? Something desirable and something not desirable? Really, where is the drive to do that? In this, because this is the strife, and this is the surrender, and this is the investigation, this is the revelation, and this is the frustration. This is everything. This is playing unconscious to itself, and this is playing conscious to itself. The me really is just an instrument. Or an experience that believes that it is experiencing. But it itself is an experience. Gurleen is an experience, believing that Gurleen is the experiencer or not, depending on what the flow has done in that seeming flow of Gurleenness. And from here, from this recognition, from this seeing through, what is left to do and what is left to achieve? Is there anything to achieve? Is there anything else for all these concepts to even be relevant? And yet, I can still apply my lipstick, I can still do my hair and get ready and smile away or fight away, whatever is arising. Well, fighting may not seem very, very fun from here, but it may still happen. So life goes on, but it now goes on from not needing anything from life, because life and I are not separate. It's not a transaction anymore. There is no other anymore. And yet I can still train my child. I can still grieve. I can still laugh. Well, I have been laughing a lot today, so don't have to say that. I can still love. I can still be, okay, no, that's not healthy. I'm going to keep my distance from this one or this event or this circumstance, whatever arises then from this biological makeup that is already the instrument through which the life is being lived. So then that psychological lack and void from which the biological was lived doesn't have to be the case anymore. So then only the biological can be fully am lived by that which you are. And in between that, there is no separation. That's the baseline. So when I say in between that, just take it with a pinch of salt, is the me structure, which is somehow connected to its source. So this me that knows these are my hands and I can do this and hold things and it's hurting. So that thinking structure is not separate inherently anymore. Again, mentioning, because it is so tricky and easy to forget this. So all these descriptions doesn't mean that it's better for the psychological me to not be separate anymore, because it is not up to the psychological me. So the me being the one that is living unconsciously, or the me being the one that is now living consciously, are two innocent movements within this ness that you already are, whether you know it or not. And when I say whether you know it or not, that you is the psychological me that is seemingly interpreting these words, that needs the words to relate and to resonate. So if there is still a sense of lack and a sense of separateness and a sense to be right or to be loved or to prove a point or to have a purpose or have meaning in life, it's the same movement as being detached, being enlightened, whatever that means, being not separate anymore, not suffering anymore. They're just two qualities of experience, experienced within that, which doesn't need a type of experience to be what it is. It is morphing itself into the experience that seems to be. So, am I suffering? And if the answer is yes, why not? Let's really look into this suffering then. The fear of suffering. Oh, I'm suffering, that means there's still something to do. No. The only thing to do is to rest within it. If that can happen, if that's available. And if it's not available, then resting within that it's not available. Can I just rest with whatever is here? However separate or peaceful it may seem to be. Because that's already how your true thisness, this you-ness is experiencing this. It is not differentiating between suffering and peace. They're just like weather. It's cold today and it's hot today and it's rainy today and it's cloudy today. The leaves are falling today and the trees are blooming today. It's just like that. Can it be seen like that? And if it cannot be seen like that, can I just rest in not being able to see it like that? Because resting is what it really means to see it like that. Can I really surrender to the suffering? As I surrender to the peace? Can I surrender the I that wants to be at peace and doesn't want to suffer? So it's not about not having any desires. It is about not desiring whatever is here to be different. And if there is a desire for this to be different, then not having a desire to finish that desire or fix that desire or end that desire, because that's just another movement of desire. It's not possible to put the fire out with more fire. So it's not possible to rest into this with more desire. And if there is more desire, can I not desire for it to be not be there? Because that'll be more desire. So really, just resting. So we can call it surrender. We can call it wisdom. We can call it being present in the present moment. We can call it detachment. All these labels are basically pointing to the same. Here comes the laughing again. And all that was said is not a practice. It's not a discipline. It might seem to be a fruit of a certain practice or a certain discipline, seemingly, but it's not a practice. It cannot be practiced because the one that practices is the root of that clinging and aversion, of that desiring movement that suffers. So this is not a prescription of what should be done to be free of this me or to see this me through. No, because any prescription would be more desiring. And there's nothing wrong with desiring. That one is very frustrating for the me. It's like, what do you mean? Desiring is okay, but it veils the real me. Like, what to do then? Well, yeah, nothing. Just rest and see what happens. The real practice, if we want to use that word, is to just stop practicing. And again, that stopping to practice is not another action. It's just put your baggage down, man. It's enough. There's nothing to prove here. What am I practicing for? Really, truly. Do I want to prove to my mother that I am more detached than I used to be, or am I more mature than I used to be? What is it really about? Why? Why do this? when there's nothing left to prove, then the proving can really happen purely, even if that is something that is included within the experience of you-ness that you are. And that's probably what it means when wisdom teachings say, just be. It's not an action. It's not something to do. It's actually the opposite of that. Stop when the doing stops inherently. That doesn't mean that I stop moving my hands. Just the need to do something, to be something different or better. When that inherent drive or strive just rests or takes a break, even if it's temporary. That's really what it means just to be. Because when that drive really rests, the beingness of this you shines through. Shines through on the me structure, because it is always shining. So nothing needs to happen for this to shine. This is all shiny. It's everything else is appearing and dancing because of its shine. But as the resting happens, this shines through the me structure that seems to be seeking. And it probably would be temporary in the beginning. And there would be an inevitable movement of wanting to need it like a drug. And it may create more suffering even. Because before I was just suffering in the flow of life, my relationships and my money problems and my health problems. And now there's another topic of suffering. It's gone. So that's another topic of suffering now and desiring. And that probably is inevitable. And yet, as more and more glimpses of this you-ness that shines through the me that is seeking, it washes away that need to experience it even. And then you're free to smile. And you're free to be serious. You're free to be intellectual. You're free to be emotional. You're free to be none of that. And you're free to be all of that. Because that's what you already are. You are already all of that. And you are already none of that. That's why it cannot be practiced. And yet all the practices are free to happen within this. Within this just being. If just being means I just want to sit alone with my eyes closed and call it meditation, so be it. If in just being it happens to be a need to dance and flow and do some movement of the body to unblock some energies, that can fully happen. And if in just being means going out to a club with friends and having a drink, so be it. There is no judgment. And yet, in just being, it becomes irrelevant to want to hurt the seeming other or the world. So because it is a very valid question when they say, well, what if in just being I want to take a machete out and go out and shoot people? That's a very valid question. But that need to hurt comes from pain, comes from separation. Comes from suffering. I need to be suffering enough to want to engage into something that hurts the world or the other in a way that we see in the world today. So, what can we really do to rid the world of its pain and its suffering? The first thing, and I guess the only thing, the most impactful thing that can be done to contribute to that purpose is to rid yourself of your suffering. Because when this instrument is operating or being operated in the flow of life without suffering, that is the state of service, of true service. Just being is flowering as service, whether a serving action is done or not. Just existing from this that we can label anything is the service to the world that is appearing within this already. So, yes, when I am experientially this, I won't feel like going out and hurting others because there is no separation between me and the other. Before I open the space for all of us to chat and talk, I feel to say that all of what was spoken here or shared here is a lie. Because the truth cannot be spoken. It cannot be encapsulated in words. So leave the words right here. Forget them, if that's possible. They're just words. Like these are my hands, just like that. So none of that was really truth. So if you're seeking truth, yeah, there's a dead end there too. Okay, so this is the last gathering for at least a month, I would say. If not more than that, I will keep you guys posted. So if you have anything to say, to ask, to comment on, whatever is coming, or you just want to laugh with me today because I'm in the mood, so just raise your hand and yeah, let's have some fun. And I see Cheryl is raising her hand. Is that right?
I didn't mean to actually be raising my hand. Someone was just leaving. But I do have some things to say, although words are exactly what you talked about. Your smile is shining and it's brilliant. Thank you for sharing it. I'm knowing it all. I'm happy to know nothing. That's a nice resting place for me. Mm-hmm. The words are, we need them to communicate. We can communicate with those of us who can sit and not have any words and just be. But in order to communicate, otherwise, the words are there for that.
Yes.
You said, don't take any notes, don't just write anything down. And well,
that
I didn't
was for
think
you. Now go on, please.
There you are. Well, you're muted. There you are.
Yeah, apologies. Please. The internet is wanting to dance today with us, so sorry about
that. Yeah, dancing with it, dancing with the source. And your word, the way you use the word movement is I like that. It makes it so simple. And to do there is nothing to do other than smile and shine and gratefulness and the resting, the embracing. The resting is so welcome to me. It's so welcome. And when you started, well, here comes the laughing again. It's it's like Joy's touch. The touch that you. There's no way of explaining it, or peace's touch, or love's touch. We're actually touching all of that. That's a and being touched by it. And if there is no it really. It's just pure unadulterated. Like those are your words too last week. Pure being unadulterated freedom. The touch of that. And here comes the laughter again. So everybody, I encourage you to give yourselves a pat on the back and let's dance together. We are dancing together, and so be it, and let it be so. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Cheryl. Well, I want to know who Pat is that wants to be given on my back. But beautiful. Thank you for sharing. It's true that even though words are limited, but they are powerful. They are powerful and can lead to transformation. So, yes, words are not needed, and yet they are appreciated. So, thank you for sharing those words. It's a pleasure to be with you in this way. And thank you for your presence. We'll do a satsang one day where I'm feeling sad. So we have a balance of the laughing and the being sad together, because they are really beautiful movements. So it's actually probably more intimate to share sadness. And from it, when comes the laughter, is really a joy. So yeah, I'll put that on my list. Sitting quietly, I'm really just noticing that how the whole frame is so like monotone. So blended in together with all the beiges and creams and the browns and the whites. And it really is appearing as a metaphor for this. It's a blend of duality, seemingly. The browns and the whites and the pure and the impure and the fun and the pain and all of it. Just a masterpiece with unique strokes, not like a machinery with defined sets and characteristics and functions and parts. It's all unique. And yet, it's not separate. There's another one. Yeah. How beautiful. It's dull and it's shiny. It's day and it's night. It's sun and the moon. And the darkness behind the stars, seemingly. And the stars. Nothing is excluded. Nothing. Can I rest in my flaws? Not meaning that I don't try and be better, but meaning that not taking it as something that's lacking or that is undesirable. Can I rest in my flaws? Because that resting is the flawlessness, not the fixing of the flaws. And yet, from that flawlessness of being, the flaws may transform or not. It'll just be another movement. I am flawed. And it's not something to be proud of, but it is definitely not something to be ashamed of. It is just a fact. It's a fact like these are my hands. I am flawed. There's no need to love your flaws, but there is definitely no need to hate your flaws. They just are, like the color of my eyes or the shape of my teeth. It's just like that. Nothing good or bad about it. That's just how it is. I'm flawed and I'm unique. And yet, I'm like everybody else. I'm like everybody else. I am everybody else. And there is nobody else but I. Well, that sounds poetic. Thank you for your presence, guys. It really is your contribution to this space that you bring that opens up the space for these words to flow as they do. And even though they're not needed, they are appreciated by this person right here also. So not just you. So thank you for holding the space together for all of us. And I want to say that I'll keep you posted on the WhatsApp community about the upcoming satsangs. As I said, there probably won't be another gathering for a month or so. But I am open to scheduling a few one-on-one reflection sessions. You can call it marination sessions. We can laugh or be sad together, whatever arises. And I am thinking of doing maybe a couple or 3 or 4 sessions in the next few weeks. They will be on donation basis. So if that is something that you feel to engage in this way together, feel free to reach out to me, or there is another admin on the WhatsApp community called Ricky, who's here too. So feel free to reach out to any one of us, and we can definitely schedule a time together just to be however. And as for the next satsang, yeah, stay tuned. I am also looking forward to when it's decided. And the content will be uploaded on a regular basis, more so on YouTube channel, and even this satsang probably will be posted there at some point. So feel free to tune in and listen away or forget about it. So whatever happens, it's a joy and an honor to be here with you in this moment. So thank you. And I love you. Bye for now.